Hello and welcome back to another new edition of Windows and Current Affairs. And of course, this is a very special or an exclusive edition. Why? Because as this is the best time of the year, and as the whole world is celebrating Christmas and of course expecting to celebrate also the advent of the new year 2023. It's a whole week of festivities, and it's almost by Saturday it's going to be the pinnacle of the best of the year. And of course today we're going to be reviewing together how Egypt, as always, is being chosen as ranking number 3 for the amongst 23 different top destinations worldwide, according to a traveler's website or a page, an international one. And of course, in addition to as one of the best destinations in the Middle East and in Africa to spend Christmas at and the New Year. We're going to be finding why people are choosing Egypt in particular to spend Christmas and New Year. And we're very delighted to be having with us Dr. Amr Atef. He's a travel expert. He is a PhD, Heritage and Museum Studies, Faculty of Tourism and Hotel Management. Good evening, Dr. Atef. And Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you and yours. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. First of all, as we all know, that Egypt always is topping the whole ranks when it comes to the vacations, either the summer vacations or the Christmas vacations. Not because of something in particular, but because also of something in particular. But it's because Egypt has too many different types of tourism. It's not only the history, it's not only the relics, it's not only the pyramids, it's not only the beaches, it's the food, it's the holy sites, it's the mosques and the churches, it's the the path of the Holy Family when they spent it to traveling from Bethlehem to, or traveling to escape and to save baby Jesus. It's too many, too many types of tourism that distinguish Egypt and make people, no matter what, choose Egypt to spend their vacation at. And also at the same time, add to that Egypt is safe at the time of the pandemic. There isn't any, almost none or nil cases that are registered, unlike other countries like China, like some countries in Europe, some countries in Africa. So there are many, many reasons that Egypt would rank number 3 amongst top 23 destinations in one of the international sites on the social media. If you'd like to elaborate.
Well, first of all, I want to say Merry Christmas to all our dear guests that are watching us in Egypt and all over the world, and a Happy New Year and Happy Holidays. As you were just saying, Dina, the Egypt is the country that has all the elements that you just mentioned. If you're talking about beaches, Egypt has lots of beaches, by the Mediterranean and by the Red Sea. If you're talking about classical tourism and historical tourism, we have the temples of Egypt, and the Nile cruises from Luxor to Aswan, and the sites in Egypt has one of the largest ancient sites of the world, if we can say. If you're talking about the Egyptian cuisine, we need lots of programs to mention a list, the Egyptian cuisine in Egypt. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised that Egypt is chosen as the 3rd country by this magazine, by this international magazine, because I would have thought that Egypt should have been listed as maybe the first destination, worldwide for Christmas holiday, especially after all the promotion that has been happening in Egypt recently. If you go to Luxor and Aswan and you see the temples are showered with travelers from all over the world. And I haven't seen this tourism since 2010, 2009. I mean, this is considered to be the strongest year with travelers coming to Egypt from all over the world. People wanted to travel after the pandemic, and they always want to come to Egypt. You talk to British who come here, and I'm going to start with the English people, and they say we studied Egypt at school, and we always wanted to come to Egypt. You talk to Americans and they say the same thing. You talk to Germans, you talk to French, you talk to Italians, you talk to Japanese. All of them studied Egypt at school as a history and part of the history, and they always wanted to come and see Egypt. So traveling is one of their main goals, and coming to Egypt is one of the main goals. So Christmas and holidays in Egypt is an added value. And as you mentioned, that the Holy Family who came to Egypt, that also increased the number of the travelers who want to come. I don't want to name it religious tourism. I would say it's a spiritual tourism.
Of course, spiritual. We're going to touch over that particular very important part because it's coexisting right now, and it's very much relevant to the season. But after this short break, we'll be right back to you. Welcome back, and we're still with Windows and Current Affairs, of course, and Egypt ranking number 3 amongst 23 top destinations worldwide on the social media. And with us live here in the studio is Dr. Amr Atef, travel expert, PhD Heritage and Museum Studies. And of course, Dr. Atef, you were talking about actually why is Egypt so popular when it comes to vacations and when it comes to Christmas and New Year vacation, in spite that there is no snow. There is no, I mean, all the scenes that is related to that particular season, yet it's one of the best places where you can spend your vacation, and because for many reasons. You talked about the spiritual tourism. Of course, it's the spiritual tourism in addition to other elements, but let's start off with the spiritual tourism.
Well, I mean, we don't forget that the Holy Family came to Egypt, and I mean, when you talk about Christmas and New Year and you talk about Jesus Christ, the first thing you remember is the Holy Family coming here to Egypt. And Egypt just promoted and opened this new route of the Holy Family coming to Egypt. 1,500 kilometers back and forth that Jesus, Mary, and Joseph took or crossed when they came from Jerusalem all the way to Egypt. the first escaping trip in the history. And Egypt is the first country that Jesus Christ drank its water after his homeland, and the first country that he ate its food after his homeland. So this always clicked in the mind of the travelers when they want to go for a Christmas vacation. And it has always been a dream. The hotels are full with travelers from all over the world, and lots of them said that they haven't traveled for the last couple of years because of the pandemic, and that they want to, come and visit Egypt for the Christmas and the New Year because of all what they have been hearing about Egypt. You'll be surprised that the travelers read and know a lot about our country. They know about the Holy Family trip. They know about even the blessings that Egypt has took from the Pope in the Vatican in Rome for this trip. They know about the Egyptian Coptic feasts. They know about the Pope in Egypt. They know about the Patriarch, and they know about the churches. They know about Coptic Cairo churches. They know, and they read, and they have lots of information. And when you talk to them, you feel that they've been studying and preparing for this trip before coming here, in spite of not having snow in Egypt.
Exactly.
In spite, it doesn't have to be snow, of course. And if you walk downtown, and whenever you have time, and take a walk in downtown Cairo, and you see the Christmas vibes in downtown Cairo, it's amazing. After all the restoration that they've been doing in downtown Cairo. A couple of days ago, after the tour, I just took a walk in downtown Cairo in the streets of Solomon Street and Adley Street and all those downtown streets, Fuad Street and Solomon, all those downtown area, and you can see the Christmas vibes wide and straight. The Christmas trees and Christmas to us as Egyptians became a feast. It's not really a religious festival. When people ask, when they come here, I'm talking about the travelers, that Egypt is an Islamic country. Do you celebrate Christmas? And I answer back, we celebrate Christmas as a festival. We just want to enjoy and have fun. So we celebrate Christmas not only from a religious concept, we celebrate it as a ceremony, as a carnival, and we like it. Even the kids. I remember bringing Christmas trees to our mother, for instance, in Christmas. And I remember at school, we used to bring Christmas trees to our teachers and so on and so forth. So Christmas to us in Egypt is a carnival, is a celebration, and Egyptians by nature, they like the festivals and the feasts and the carnivals.
Right, and also because Egypt by origin is for Copts.
Yeah.
And Copts celebrate Christmas at their time. That's why Egypt by nature and by origin celebrates Christmas before even the world celebrated Christmas.
Absolutely correct.
And add to that also that there are different types of Christmas other than the snowy Christmas.
Yes.
Here in Egypt we have both scenes, and we have both vibes, and we have both environments. Add to that also that the path of the Holy Family, or the trip of the holy trip of Virgin Mary and baby Jesus, peace be upon him. It was a long story, and it is very much sacred and blessed that lots of people choose to come and follow the footsteps of that holy trip and take a flashback and take the blessings also. And that's why Egypt is important, and because it was mentioned in both books, Christianity and Al-Quran.
Absolutely correct. Egypt was mentioned in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, and also in the Quran, in the Holy Quran. So
I'm talking about the holy trip.
The holy trip, of course. Whenever you talk about Jesus, whenever Jesus crossed to anybody's mind, they think about Egypt.
Of course.
They think about the trip coming here, 1,500 kilometers, as I told you back
and
and
how
forth.
it was a safe haven for him. Peace be upon him.
Absolutely. I mean, he was in Egypt. He was hiding, and he was hiding safely among the Egyptians, and he was welcomed in Egypt. You go to Old Cairo, to Coptic Cairo, and you see one of the places. We're talking 25 steps, 25 points that Jesus and Mary and Joseph stayed, used when they were moving in this trip, 25. And one of them, for instance, is Old Cairo. And when you go there and you see the crypt and how it is among those narrow alleys where the homes of the people are. So he was welcomed and safe, of course, may peace be upon him. And Egyptians actually are very honored to have had Jesus Christ being accommodated in its land. Even before Christianity was spread in this part of the world. So if we talk about how important Egypt is, you just mentioned that Coptic is Egypt. Egypt means Copt, and Kupetah in the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Copt is like the nation of God, that's where the name came from. And in Egypt, when people come here, they always want to see the places that the Holy Family stayed in, let alone that this will encourage the different types of tourism that comes to Egypt. So instead of only having these classical tours, people now like the Instagrammic tour. I mean, they like to visit places where they can take pictures and they can show it and be the first ones to do this trip. So it's always good to get the priority and be the pioneers in any of the different kinds of tourism, as you always know. So people like this Instagrammic tour, and they come to see New Egypt now. It's not, we always say, it's not the traveler's mother's Egypt or grandmother's Egypt. It's New Egypt that people are seeing. New Egypt and new ways of seeing it. We meet travelers who have been here 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and they say Egypt has changed. This is not Egypt that we have seen before.
Egypt, that's true that Egypt has changed into a modern, sophisticated, more sophisticated. We were by origin, since the pharaohs were sophisticated.
Yep.
But the fact that Egyptian has, or the Christmas has an Egyptian essence over here is very important. The difference between the Egyptian Christmas and the European one, and the type of tourists who come to enjoy Christmas, are they different from the type of tourists who go over to Switzerland, for example, by the Swiss Alps and to go ski, and other American tourists who go somewhere else to enjoy Christmas, to Germany or to France or to England? So what do they find in Egypt in order to be attracted to spend Christmas at?
First of all, we should know that whoever come to Egypt, any traveler who come to Egypt, they love Egypt. And they wanted to come here. I had a speech with my uncle when I started working in the field of tourism, and he was a professor at the University of Alexandria, and he was not in tourism business. Anyways, and he told me, you have to learn and know that the travelers that come here, they love Egypt, and they thought about it, and they planned the trip, and they came a long way to come to this country. So keep this in mind when you're talking to them and when you're dealing with them. They love this country, and that's why they came here, because they came with their own choice. And they took the effort and exerted the effort to search and look at the different itineraries and compare and look at the bookings and book the trip and the flights and pack and take their holiday and give their time, which is very precious to lots of people, and come here and spend their holiday. So we really, in Egypt, as Egyptians, we should keep this in mind when we deal with the dear travelers that come here. We should know that the people who are here, they love Egypt, and they came a long way to enjoy. A couple of days ago, I was at the pyramids, and I was happy like there is no tomorrow. I mean, the queue to go inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, of Cheops, was almost, I would say, if I say 2 kilometers long, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, the people were standing, waiting for the turn to go inside the big pyramid of Cheops, the only ancient wonder that still exists. You're talking about Egypt and Christmas. You're talking about why people coming here. You talk about the pyramid of Cheops, for instance. That's one item. The pyramid of Cheops is the only ancient wonder that still exists in the world. I have never seen in the last 30 years these crowds in the temples before. I've never seen this queue. It took them almost, I mean, the group I had took them almost a couple of hours to be able to go inside the pyramid of Cheops only. You know, can you imagine? A couple of hours because of the, I mean, people wanted to see and go inside the pyramid of Cheops, and that's one item. You leave the pyramids and you go to the Egyptian Museum of Antiquities. And people ask you about King Tutankhamun, and if King Tutankhamun is still there in the Egyptian Museum or not, or did they move it to the GEM, to the Grand Egyptian Museum. And not only this, but people are waiting, and they can't wait to go and visit the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, when it's open. It's going to be a city. I mean, it's not going to be only a museum. It's going to be like a city of artifacts, and it's going to be the largest, museum accommodating Egyptian artifacts worldwide. So Egypt, tourism is important to Egypt. Tourism is important to the Egyptian government. And tourism is important to people in charge here. And it's our number one industry, and people know that wide and straight. The COP 27 that you were we were just talking about before, even before we came on air in your program. COP 27 did an advertisement, great advertisement, not only because of the idea of COP 27, but President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, when he called for COP 27, as a matter of fact, it's green tourism. Sharm el-Sheikh is listed as a green tourism. So presidents and kings and prime ministers and ministers, and you were there, and you probably have seen, I haven't been, but you were there, and you probably have seen all the entourage and the people who were there in the COP 27. This gives an advertisement to Egypt. This all serve and pours in the pot of tourism, if I can say. And it's a win-win relationship and situation. So people go, and Egypt also, World Cup. You're talking about the World Cup in Qatar, and Egypt made a deal with Qatar, with the Qatar government, to facilitate the visas and the accommodation for the fans, the soccer fans who attended the World Cup in Qatar. So that's I mean, you look about it and you think about it, and everybody in his place and location is really caring about tourism. If we're talking about the tourist police, and how great job they're doing. I mean, the tourism police in the sites and in the temples, and they are doing a great job. Taking care of the sites and taking care of the tourists and showing. I mean, the commentary we get from the travelers all the time that they feel safe when they see people caring and checkpoints and people caring about them and everything. So they feel safe, and it's an added value to tourism. That shows that the government cares about tourism. I'm going to say this story quickly, since we mentioned the GEM and we mentioned the Grand Egyptian Museum. Happened to visit the Egyptian Museum, the Grand Egyptian Museum, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and that, or actually 8 o'clock in the morning, and that was Friday. And people in the GEM looked tired. I mean, everybody who works in the Grand Egyptian Museum, they looked tired, they looked pale. I mean, it was 8 o'clock in the morning, so I asked, my friends who are working in the GEM, why does people, they look like as if they haven't slept? They said President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was there at 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday. 6 o'clock, he went to visit the GEM to see it, inspecting and having a look at the work, because this is the only time he can fit in his agenda. This, to me, is a very impressive story, because that means he cares. Friday, and the only time was 6 o'clock in the morning, and everybody was there just to check about the museum and about tourism. So that reflects how, the government and Egypt and the president cares about tourism. And when you think about it, you'll find that it's #1 industry. Not because Egypt, because tourism only, or those who work in tourism, but there are more than 20 industries that serve, and help and get benefit from tourism. So we're talking more than 20 million Egyptians benefit from tourism, directly and indirectly. That's a huge number for one element, for one industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When we talk about going back again to Christmas time and New Year, let's talk about, for example, the Vatican.
Yeah.
People go to take a bless and to see even history.
Yes.
It's like one of the most important touristic sites
Absolutely.
in Italy. People would go to Italy to go to the Vatican.
That's right.
And besides going to the Vatican, there is an industry that is related to that trip to the Vatican, which is the relics, which is the Murano glass, and the ornaments, and the little angels, and the T-shirts, and all the accessories that are related. We went there and we saw a totally different side-by-side industry of tourism that is related to that particular religious site. And here in Egypt, we possess the cathedral, which is the only one of its kind in the Middle East.
Absolutely.
And in Africa.
Yes.
And we have seen many African countries where Egypt, they regarded Egypt as a sacred place because of the cathedral.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
over here. And we have our Pope.
Pope Tawadros.
Of course. So Christmas here is very special also.
Absolutely.
It's special here and it's special in Italy. And it's special here because the weather is warm, and because it's a totally different spirit, and because also of some different spiritual places, like the suspended church, like some places in South Egypt, like the trip, again, like I'm going to mention the holy trip of the Holy Family, like all the history of the Copts over here, and the folkloric religious Coptic history, all that, which makes it a very unique experience for tourists to come over and spend Christmas at, which is a little bit of a renovation compared to the monotonous every year usual old-fashioned Christmas vacation. If you like to elaborate.
Well, that's. I mean, you said it all. It's New Egypt that we're talking about. People come here and see the Coptic churches, and Coptic churches are famous worldwide. I mean, there is a Coptic church in Russia, there is a Coptic church in Ethiopia, there are Coptic churches in England, there are Coptic churches in the US of A. So people know about the Coptic church, and they come to visit the Coptic churches, and I see them going inside the churches and get the blessings. We have lots of church groups that come at this time of the year, and they come in big numbers. I don't want to mention names of the different church groups, but they come in big numbers, and it makes me happy to see the sites full of travelers from all over the world, and enjoying and waiting to see and enjoy our country. We are blessed with the weather, as you said, and we don't have this very cold, cruel winter. I mean, we have pleasant winter and also pleasant summer. So people come to enjoy our weather. Not only this.
You have the Nile cruises.
We have the Nile cruises.
Which are very popular in Christmas also.
Absolutely. I mean, you go in the Nile and you see the boats going up and down the Nile. I mean,
and all the way down to Luxor and Aswan, so you can make it 2 in 1.
Absolutely. Not only this, but they started now also the super long cruise. So it's back. So you can take, I mean, people can take the cruise from Cairo all the way to Aswan. I mean, like 2 weeks cruising on the Nile River. Not only this, but also we have Egypt is special. We have there's something about the country. It's a mix of different civilizations,
Exactly.
and people can feel it. I mean, Egypt is like a cake I mean, there are layers of history. We're talking about the pre-dynastic and then pre-dynastic history, and then we're talking about another layer of ancient Egyptian, Old, Middle, and New Kingdom, for instance, and then we're talking about Greco-Roman, Byzantine, and then we're talking about the Turks and the Arab rulers that came here 1400 years ago, and then the Turks and the French and the British. So it's layers. So whenever you go, there is something that's historical. There is something that's old. There is something that's unique. I mean, it's humongous amount of sites and tours in mosques as well. I mean, people, when they come and visit Egypt in the Christmas, they want to see the mosques, and they want to go visit the Sultan Hassan Mosque, for instance, which is very impressive. I mean, the Sultan Hassan. They want to visit Muhammad Ali Mosque. They go to Rifai Mosque. They go in Al Mu'izz Street, and they also see the Christmas vibes in Al Mu'izz Street at night, which is considered to be a nice walk with all the lights and all the carnivals and the ceremonies. The Egyptian cuisine is also very different and attracting and appealing to all the travelers. The Egyptian food traveling became very famous. Now people book, I mean, you might go on a tour in the morning and book a food tour in the afternoon. You know, they go on the internet and they book food tours, and there are guides who does food tours in downtown Cairo, and they walk and they take them to try the shawarma and the falafel and the sugarcane juice. And I mean, so the food tour and the food cuisine is also very interesting and amazing and appealing to lots of people here. So Egypt really deserves to have, a high rank among the countries, or among being a tourist destination worldwide. And as we mentioned, location, sites, beaches, religious sites. I think Egypt has it all.
Right. What is the latest, or what new programs have this industry prepared for this Christmas and New Year, and even not only by New Year, but also until January 7th for those types of tourists who are coming over? And what type of tourists exactly do choose Egypt? Who choose Egypt to come over? Which tourists?
I will answer the second part of the question first. Which kind of tourists who come and choose Egypt? By the way, the sites that has been opened in Egypt, and as I told you, people now want to come and see New Egypt. I can see that the trip to Egypt became, I would say, higher standard, if I can put it this way, than before. In the past, people used to come to Egypt, it's like mass tourism. So it was not very, I would not say expensive, but let's say it's an inexpensive tours. Now, the type of tourists who come to Egypt, I think it increased the quality of the travelers who would come here. I'm talking about financially, and I'm talking about education-wise and what have you, because of the different sites that has been opened. And Egypt also does lots of private tours and private openings. This is very trendy. I mean, we didn't have that before. You have a group, and they go to the Valley of the Kings, and they open the Valley of the Kings for themselves privately, you know. And to them, this is a wow moment. They are the only ones in the Valley of the Kings, you know. And they open it privately for them. They go to the temple.
And we have seen not only the Valley of the Kings, I mean, all the sites in Egypt. We have seen fashion designers and celebrities.
You can say that again. Pierre Cardin.
Without mentioning names,
we're not mentioning of the program. But anyways, yes, fashion designers and yes, in general.
Right. Not only fashion designers, and I was giving that as an example, but also celebrities who come over and they book those places for festivities and for parties
and birthdays.
They throw
and
bash parties over there.
Absolutely. This kind of tourism was not there before. This celebrity tourism was not there before. And this is promoting because those celebrities have their fans and their followers on the social media. Also allowing pictures in the sites and allowing the cameras in a fraction of a second, people will take a picture of the site, and everybody can see it, worldwide. So this would increase tourism, and I think that this year and the coming years will be very prosperous when it comes to the field of tourism, inshallah.
Right. We only have like 2 minutes left. We need to take a thorough look over the whole year when it comes to the harvest of tourism for 2022. Do you think that we were lucky enough to take a leap in tourism after all the infrastructural projects and the economic reform program and the festivities and entertainment and conferences, COP27? So do you think this is going to be a promising start for 2023?
Absolutely. And there are lots of bookings in 2023. 2023 will be a fruitful year for all those who work in tourism. I really wish all the best. Because people who work in the tourism field actually in the last 10, 15 years have been, working on and off because of all, pandemic.
Just like everywhere else
in the world. But now I think it's going to be fruitful and booming, and try to get a room in any of the hotels is going to be very difficult. Or
that's true, and we have noticed that in Sharm el-Sheikh.
Sharm el-Sheikh and on the river. And also the guides. The guides are busy. We used to talk and call and talk to each other all the time. Now everybody's busy and everybody's working, and I've seen guides that I haven't seen since years and years, and I'm very happy to see them on the sites, and I'm very happy to see them back on track. So, and on the groups, the phone is ringing all the time. They're looking for a guide, an English guide or a Spanish guide or a French guide. So that's good. That's good and prosperous, and I hope that 2023 would be fruitful for everybody who works in the field of tourism, and for all Egypt, and really will be good for everybody.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Of course, Dr. Amr Atef, you are a travel expert, a PhD in Heritage and Museums. I'd like to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you and yours. Thank you.
Same here. And I guess this brings us to the end of this edition of Winters on Current Affairs. Many thanks to all of you. Until we see you again next week, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas.